I'm just going to say something kind of controversial. I think that those of us in the tech community, the tech world, those of us watching reviews of phones on the internet are sometimes a little bit impatient. I think that sometimes we don't give things appropriate time to develop before we make our assessment. Now, this could come in the form of sensationalized headlines, articles, and comments that just jump to radical conclusions, I think, far before we should be reaching those conclusions. That could come in the form of content creators posting reviews for phones that they've had for 2 days. There are many ways that this could take shape, but the one we're going to talk about in this video is the judgment of Google's Tensor processor. This thing has never been a speed king. It has always had problems, be it thermal problems, as I just mentioned, some performance issues, and all along the way, people have basically said Tensor is just absolute garbage and Google should abandon it. And as recently as 1 year ago, I actually posted a video on this very subject, this question. Should Google drop Tensor and go back to Snapdragon? And it's kind of surprising how my feelings have changed on this in a year's time. In that video, my conclusion was that even though Tensor has had all of these sorts of issues, it's just too early. At that point, we were on Tensor G3. The G4 was just about to launch, and the G5 has now launched in reality. I talk about how G5 was rumored to be this really big change because they were switching from Samsung Foundry over to TSMC. This was going to be truly Tensor's coming out party. Well, Tensor has now come out. And because of that, I think it is absolutely time, 5 generations in, to make a real judgment on Tensor. But to do that, I think that we do need to take a moment and talk about why Google is making their own processor in the first place. And a lot of this is going to be just straight up marketing speak. It's what they are telling us their reasoning is, right? And a lot of that is that they say Tensor is made for AI. It is meant to be fast at doing AI tasks. And we have seen over the last 5 years of Google smartphones, Google in general, we have watched them invest and double down and triple down on AI tools, AI things. And I would say that if you took your Pixel 10 Pro Fold and your Honor Magic V5 or your Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 or whatever phone you want to use, something that's using a Snapdragon 8 Elite, and you put them side by side and you do AI-centric things, if the Pixel was noticeably faster, that would be a feather in their cap, and that would be something we could point to and say, no, it's not as good at gaming, but if you want a gaming phone, buy a gaming phone. If you want an AI phone, buy a Pixel. But the problem is, when you put these things side by side, as I have done on this channel, the Pixel isn't faster. Even in AI tasks, it is slower than devices running Snapdragon processors. And when you put it side by side and have it do other more normal tasks, like video processing or gaming, it's slower there too. So here we are on Tensor G5, and not only is it slower still, it is still slower at the things Google says it's supposed to be built for. So what's the point? Well, they might say that it's for exclusive features. There are things that Tensor enables that other devices aren't going to be able to do. But here's my problem with that. Google runs that line, they run that play out of their playbook all the time, and inevitably, those Tensor exclusive features always end up on other devices, right? We saw this first with Magic Eraser, but now we've seen it with Magic Editor. We've seen this with Gemini Nano. These things always end up running on other devices as well. I'm just going to straight up tell you, I don't think there's a single thing that Tensor can do that a Snapdragon 8 Elite processor can't do and can't probably do faster. Now look, I want to make something very, very clear. My Pixel 10 Pro Fold is not slow. It is not stuttery. It is a smooth, responsive device that when I'm using it, I don't think about the fact that its processor is slower than my other phones. There are very few circumstances where that becomes noticeable to me, and I think noticeable to most people. In normal use, this is not really a very big issue. But when you're talking about top of the line phones that are very expensive, I don't think it's unreasonable to want the best. And when you watch Google year after year continue to use their Tensor processor and continue to show you no reason why they should be doing that, no advantage, no benefit, no performance uplift that even gets close to matching what Qualcomm is doing, at a certain point, I think Tensor G1, G2, G3, I think it's totally reasonable to say, hey, we're only 3 years into this experiment. They're playing the long game. And eventually, Tensor's going to be what they kind of want it to be. It's going to be this AI powerhouse. But 5 years on, and that just absolutely has not manifested. So to me, I think that there are probably like two reasons why they continue to use what I think we have to objectively say is an inferior chip in their phones. One is because I do think it improves their profit margins. Okay, so they are trying to make money selling Pixel phones. So they are using a less expensive chip and they are still selling their phones at the same prices as everybody else, and they're going to make more money by doing that. I just think that that is the case. I may be wrong, but I'm quite certain that is the case. The other thing I think is marketing. I think that Google, want to be more like Apple. And I've talked about this in prior videos as well, talking about the changes they're making to side loading. And everyone has all these theories about why they're doing this. And to me, I think it's quite simple. They're trying to be more like Apple. They're trying to do Apple things because Apple is remarkably successful and they have their own processors, okay? They don't buy them off the shelf, and it's part of their branding. Look at the A whatever Bionic or whatever it might be. They're all about branding and names. They don't have a camera bump, ladies and gentlemen. We have a camera plateau. Everything is branded. And I think Google wants to do the same thing. Even if Tensor's worse, it's Tensor. And I think that their hope is that given enough time, that becomes a positive association. Pixels have Tensor, Apples have a whatever, and then every other phone just uses a Qualcomm because they're kind of generic. We're different. I think that is a huge part of what they're doing. But here's the problem, and here's why my perspective has changed. Even though I will double and triple down on this myself, the performance differences are not significant for most people most of the time. You're just not going to notice. This device is going to feel fast and smooth. I've used them. I've used them for years, and that is just my experience. Among the enthusiasts, they look at benchmarks, they look at gaming FPS, they look at video exporting, they look at all of these things, and they say it's slower. If you're trying to build an association between your brand and your processor, if that association is positive, that's a net gain. That's great. But if 5 years on, the association is negative, that is an albatross around your neck. That's not helping you sell phones. If anything, it's negatively impacting your ability to sell your phones. How many of you in the comments would agree with the sentiment Pixel 10 is better with Tensor than it would be had they used the Snapdragon 8 Elite? It's better. The thermals are better. The battery life is better. Let's be honest. The image signal processing pipeline is better because they're using the Tensor processor. Have we all noticed? The Pixel photos are looking more and more kind of overly processed as time goes on. Is Google the market leader in photo processing like they were in years gone by when they were using Snapdragon processors? Do we really think that is still the case? Do we really think the Pixel 10 is better because they use Tensor G5? Now look, maybe I'm wrong, and Tensor is a positive association. It is brand recognition, and that's part of why Pixel sales continue to improve. But I don't think I am. I think that they're continuing to improve because Pixels are good phones and because they have really cool features. And if it used a Snapdragon, they'd sell even better because all of the things that people complain about, thermals and battery, which to be honest, the battery on this phone is really, really good, but you get what I'm saying, gaming performance, so forth and so on. How about the controversy about the power VR GPU and drivers and poor performance? Get rid of all of that stuff. Do you think the phone doesn't sell better that way? Is the Tensor processor something that is so bad that it should prevent most people from buying their phone? Absolutely not. Their phones are frankly fantastic. I really enjoy Pixel phones. It's not that big of a problem. But is it something that is unnecessarily hindering their phones? Could they be better? I think that's obviously the case. Why not work with Qualcomm, just like Samsung does, to make Snapdragon for Galaxy, Snapdragon for Pixel? We've tuned the Snapdragon 8 Elite to have 20% faster neural processing unit performance. Find a way to do that and have the best of both worlds. Tensor just isn't going anywhere. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. Guys, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Subscribe for more content like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.